Good afternoon, honorable members of the committee. I see a quorum. I must inform members that the clerk of the committee can only receive motions for the election of the chair. The clerk cannot receive other types of motions, cannot entertain points of order, nor participate in debate.
The election of the chair. Pursuant to Standing Order 106-2, the chair must be a member of the government party. I'm ready to receive motions for the chair.
Oh, thank you. When Mr. Eiching was the chair, he actually did a really good job of bringing lobsters and socializing in this committee. And I would think the new chair would continue in that fashion and that tradition. And I think Judy Screw would make an excellent chair, and I know she would do that. So.
The lobsters this time?
Well, we're raising the bar of expectations. We'll see how you do.
It may have to go back to Scotch. I don't know. Easier to bring Scotch.
But believe that or not, I'd nominate Judy Screw to be chair.
Thank you very much.
It has been moved by Mr. Hoback that Ms. Sgro be elected as chair of the committee. Are there any further motions? Is it the pleasure of the committee to adopt the motion? I declare the motion carried and Ms. Sgro duly elected chair of the committee. I invite Ms. Sgro to take the chair, please.
This is awkward. Well, this is going to work. I can tell you right now. That's okay. We'll fix it all up after. Or else I'll just move over there. Continue on with the election.
Conformément à l'article 106.2, le premier vice-président doit être...
Pursuant to Order 106-2, the first vice chair must be a member of the government.
With your permission, could I proceed with a nomination?
Please do.
So I would propose that, in keeping with tradition, that we would nominate a member of the Conservative caucus, and I would propose Mr. Hoback to be an excellent vice chair candidate. So I would nominate him as vice chair.
It has been moved by Mr. Varani that Mr. Hoback be elected as first vice chair of the committee. Are there any further motions?
Perhaps Mr. Hoback could speak to what delicacies he would propose bringing as vice chair when he arrives in that role. Should he be given that confidence of this committee?
I'll reserve comment unless I'm elected, until I'm elected.
Is it the pleasure of the committee to adopt the motion?
Absolutely.
I declare the motion carried and Mr. Hoback duly elected as first vice chair of the committee. Conformément à l'article...
Pursuant to order, the second vice chair
Je vais proposer Monsieur Tremblay.
I nominate Mr. Tremblay.
Ms.
It is moved by that Mr. Savard Tremblay be nominated. Are there any motions?
Plaît-il au comité d'adopter la...
Is it the pleasure of the committee to adopt the motion? I declare the motion carried. And Mr. Savard Tremblay, duly elected, second vice chair of the committee.
Thank you very much to all of you for your support. For all of us who are chairs and vice chairs, we all look forward to starting our new process and doing some really serious work together. So I think it's a great membership here of the committee, and I'm pleased to get started. So we've had that. So today's meeting, of course, has taken place, as you know, in a hybrid format pursuant to the House Order of November 25th, 2021. Members are attending in person in the room and remotely using the Zoom application. The proceedings will be made available via the House of Commons website, so you are aware the webcast will always show the person speaking rather than the entirety of the committee. I want to take this opportunity to remind all participants to the meeting that screenshots or taking photos of your screen are not permitted. Given the ongoing pandemic situation and in light of the recommendations from health authorities, as well as the directive of the Board of Internal Economy on October the 19th, 2021, to remain healthy and safe, all those attending the meeting in person are to maintain 2-meter physical distancing, which we clearly are with the tables set the way they're done. Must wear a non-medical mask when circulating in the room, and it's highly recommended that the mask be worn at all times, including when seated. Must maintain proper hand hygiene by using the provided hand sanitizer that is at the entrance to the room. As the chair, I will be enforcing those measures for the duration of the meeting, and I thank members in advance for their cooperation. So, to ensure an orderly meeting, I have to outline a few rules to follow. For members participating on Zoom, you may speak in the official language of your choice. Interpretation services are available for this meeting. You have the choice at the bottom of your screen of either English or French. If interpretation is lost, please inform me immediately, and we will ensure interpretation is properly restored before resuming the proceedings. The raise hand feature at the bottom of the screen can be used at any time if you wish to speak or alert the chair. For members participating in person, proceed as you usually would when the whole committee is meeting in person at the committee room. Before speaking, please wait until I recognize you by name. If you are on the video conferencing, please click on the microphone icon to unmute yourself. Those in the room, your microphones will be controlled as normal by the Proceedings and Verification Officer. When speaking, please speak slowly and clearly. When you are not speaking, your mic should be on mute. A reminder that all comments by members and witnesses should be addressed through the chairs. With regards to the speaking list, the committee clerk and I will do the best we can to maintain consolidated order of speaking for all members, whether they are participating virtually or in person. All right, so thank you for all of that. So with the agreement of the committee, is the committee want to proceed with consideration of routine motions? Okay, Mr. Reid? All those in favor, everybody's good with doing the routine motions? All right. The committee clerk has circulated a list of the routine motions that the committee adopted in the last session of the previous Parliament. And as a reminder, a motion must be moved by a committee member.
We haven't seen those from the clerk. Are they going to actually do a physical copy here in the room?
Yeah, I think there should have. I'm looking at the clerk. Were the routine motions supplied to all of the members?
They were distributed with the welcome email. I can redistribute them right now electronically, but I don't have any physical copies right now, but I can endeavor to get some, but I will redistribute them electronically right away.
Okay, I would feel better if we all had a copy
Yes,
of them.
I think everybody should have them in a paper copy in front of them.
Yep.
So, do we want to, Mr.
Yeah, Madam Chair,
Brownie?
if I can assist. So I was prepared to move them, and I can read them into the record, dividing my time in each official language, if that assists. And I've got a hard copy of what I'm going to read here as well. So we can make a photocopy of that after the fact, if that assists.
Okay. But
Prefer to have them in front of me as you read
doesn't
them.
have a copy, so may I just suggest, how long would it take, Madam Clerk, to get some copies?
Perhaps we can suspend for about 5 minutes and I'll go to
So I'm going to suggest then that we suspend, I mean, I see some people have them and some don't. In order to go through them, we all should have them in a paper copy in front of us. So I'm going to move that we suspend for 5 minutes, and the clerk will get us copies as quickly as possible, right? read in, or do you want to vote on them individually? Well, unless there's an objection, we'll continue. If there's an area that's a problem, please make sure you flag it, and we'll discuss it at that time. Arif?
Sure.
Mr.
Thank you very
Byrne.
much, Madam Chair. So the first part of the routine motion is respecting analyst services. So I move that the committee retain as needed and at the discretion of the chair the services of one or more analysts from the Library of Parliament to assist in its work. La deuxième chose, c'est concernant
Second of all, the subcommittee and agenda and procedure, that the subcommittee and agenda and procedure be established and be composed of 5 members, the chair, 1 member from each recognized party, and that the subcommittee work in a spirit of collaboration.
a meeting relates to meeting without quorum, that the chair be authorized to hold meetings to receive evidence and to have that evidence published when a quorum is not present, provided that at least 4 members are present, including 2 members of the opposition parties and 2 members of the government party, but when traveling outside the parliamentary precinct, that the meeting begin after 15 minutes, regardless of members present. Quatrième chose,
Fourth, time for opening remarks and questioning of witnesses. That witnesses be given 5 minutes for their opening statement, that whenever possible, witnesses provide the committee with their opening statement 72 hours in advance. That at the discretion of the chair, during the questioning of witnesses, there be allocated 6 minutes for the first questioner of each party as follows for the first round: Conservative Party, Liberal Party, Bloc Québécois, New Democratic Party. For the second and subsequent rounds, the order and time for questioning be as follows: Conservative Party, 5 minutes, Liberal Party, 5 minutes, Bloc Québécois, 2.5 minutes, New Democratic Party, 2.5 minutes, Conservative Party, 5 minutes, Liberal Party, 5 minutes.
component document distribution, that only the clerk of the committee be authorized to distribute documents to members of the committee provided the documents are in both official languages, and that the witnesses be advised accordingly. Sixth, ça concerne les repas de
6 working meals, that the clerk of the committee at the discretion of the chair be authorized to make the necessary arrangements to provide working meals for the committee and its subcommittees.
additional costs that arise thereto respecting lobsters be the sole purview of the chair. Number 7, travel, accommodation, and living expenses of witnesses, that if requested, reasonable travel, accommodation, and living expenses be reimbursed to witnesses not exceeding 2 representatives per organization, that in exceptional circumstances, payment for more representatives be made at the discretion of the chair. Huitième chose, accès aux réunions à huis clos.
Access to in-camera meetings, that unless otherwise ordered, each committee member be allowed to be accompanied by 1 staff member at in-camera meetings, and that 1 additional person from each House officer's office be allowed to be present.
It would be transcripts of in-camera meetings. So the proposition is that 1 copy of the transcript of each in-camera meeting be kept in the committee clerk's office for consultation by members of the committee or by their staff, and that the analysts assigned to the committee also have access to the in-camera transcripts. Dixième chose, avis.
10. Notice of motion, that a 48-hour notice interpreted as 2 nights be required for any substantive motion to be moved in committee, unless the substantive motion relates directly to business then under consideration, provided that A, the notice be filed with the clerk of the committee no later than 4 p.m. from Monday to Friday, B, the motion be distributed to members and the offices of the whips of each recognized party in both official languages by the clerk on the same day the said notice was transmitted, if it was received no later than the deadline hour. C, notices received after the deadline hour or on non-business days be deemed to have been received during the next business day, and that when the committee is holding meetings outside the parliamentary precinct, no substantive motion may be moved.
I'm on, I think it's 11, the orders of reference from the House respecting bills. That in relation to orders of reference from the House respecting bills, A, the clerk of the committee shall, upon the committee receiving such an order of reference, write to each member who is not a member of a caucus represented on the committee to invite those members to file with the clerk of the committee in both official languages any amendments to the bill which is the subject of the said order, which they would suggest that the committee consider. B, suggested amendments filed pursuant to paragraph A at least 48 hours prior to the start of the clause-by-clause consideration of the bill to which the amendments relate shall be deemed to be proposed during the said consideration, provided that the committee may, by motion, vary this deadline in respect of a given bill. And C, during the clause-by-clause consideration of a bill, the chair shall allow a member who filed suggested amendments pursuant to paragraph A an opportunity to make brief representations in support of them. Deuxième chose.
Number 12. Technical tests for witnesses, that the clerk inform each witness who is to appear before the committee that the House Administration support team must conduct technical tests to check the connectivity and the equipment used to ensure the best possible sound quality. And that the chair advise the committee at the start of each meeting of any witness who did not perform the required technical tests.
It would be linguistic review, that all documents submitted for committee business that do not come from a federal department, members' offices, or that have not been translated by the Translation Bureau be sent for prior linguistic review by the Translation Bureau before being distributed to members. Et 14e.
Number 14, minister's appearance, that whenever a minister appears before the committee, every effort should be made in order for the meeting to be televised.
Those are the propositions that I believe we have consent of all parties on. So that is what I would propose to be the routine motions to be passed by the committee at this time. Merci, Madame la Présidente.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Concerns or discussion? Okay, Mr. Brani has moved. Yes, Mr. Simon Tremblay.
En fait, je n'ai
I have a question. Why did we not talk about the in-camera proceedings motion?
En fait, j'avais tout simplement.
I have a question. Regarding the last motion. The motion about in-camera proceedings. I'd like to know why we're talking about unanimous consent and not the consent of the majority.
That. So my understanding is that all the parties have agreed to the first 14 propositions. The Liberal Party, in all candor, does not support that last proposition concernant délibération à huis clos.
Donc, elle n'est pas.
So it is not being presented today?
Mr. Brani has not moved it, and in fact, according to the information that I have, it's out of order on that particular motion. The other ones have all been agreed to by all of the party whips, and that's why they were brought forward in that format. All right. Okay, Mr. Hoback?
Yeah, Chair, I agree with you. I was told by our folks in our whip's office too that this wasn't agreed upon, and actually when you get into the functionality of this, it actually would be not in order, so it can't proceed.
Hence, okay. All right. Everybody's okay with that? Is there unanimous consent to vote on all of those routine motions with one vote? Of course, not including the one that Mr. Simon Tremblay was referencing. Just simply the ones that have been recognized by Mr. Varani introduced. All right. All those in favor? Oh, Mr. Massey?
Yeah, I'm not going to disagree, but I want to know why it's out of order, actually. I mean, this is, I come from a municipal background where in-camera is specifically designated by law, and I don't understand why it's out of order. We choose not to do it, that's one thing, but being ruled out of order is another. I just want to make that point because my understanding is that it's not out of order, but I'd like to know why.
In page 1089, it states that in practice, committees often change from in public to in camera at the suggestion of the chair with the consent of the members. This routine motion could be used more as a guide rather than a strict rule, is the information I'm getting from the clerk. Yeah.
If you look at the,
It conflicts with the standing orders that we basically have just are in the process of adopting.
yeah, and I think when you look at it, like any motion to go on camera is not debatable, but this is asking it to be debatable. Well, that contradicts going into camera, so that's the problem with the
Yeah.
way it's worded.
That's the problem with that motion.
Great, I just don't think it's out of order. I mean, we can,
Was to go into camera, it's undebatable. Yet in here,
We
you're
will-
asking to debate it before you go into camera.
yeah, we're choosing
it
that right
contradicts
now,
itself.
though. We're choosing the rules right now.
Well, everything that we have, everything that Mr. Bereni has outlined has been agreed upon by all of the whips, and basically given us the direction to let's keep peace moving forward. All right. Okay, all those in favor of the routine orders that Mr. Bereni has indicated. All those in favor, carried. Thank you all very much. Analysts.
Madam Chair. So I put my hand up virtually. And congratulations, Madam Chair, and to the vice chairs as well.
Thank you very much, Mr. Sheehan. I was just about to invite the analysts to the table and then open it up to a discussion. Did you, is that okay with you, or do you want?
I just wanted to draw you to your attention that I had circulated a motion in both official languages, that I didn't know when the appropriate time was to introduce it or deal with it. I know that we just did the routine motions, so I'm seeking your advice.
Well, if you want to introduce it, that gets sent it off to the clerk, and then we're going to discuss it with committee business as to where we go.
Very
Okay.
good. I have circulated it, and I believe everyone has received it. And I can read it if you like at the appropriate time.
Okay. Right now, we're going to invite the analysts, Simone Richards and Bashar Abu Talib, the committee analysts, to take their seats and to put on the camera. Right. And would the committee like to discuss committee business at this time? Yes, Mr. Hoback.
Yeah, I believe there's two motions. Mr. Reef's got a motion and Terry does too. And they're both very similar. Now, they should probably go to the subcommittee for discussion. And there is some terminology problems in both of them. It's not Buy America, it's Build Back Better is the actual legislation that they're talking about. So I have no issue with their motions or doing that type of study. It's just the process that we go to get it forward here. Probably should go to subcommittee. But, I'd be curious to hear if there's any other things that people would like to have
Yes,
for
exactly.
the subcommittee too, for
Yes,
discussion.
So the floor is open for that kind of a discussion as to some of the committee business that would then go to the subcommittee at that point.
Yeah, so I believe Mr. Sheehan wanted to speak to his motions. Perhaps we could turn it back over to him.
Okay, so Mr. Sheehan, if you want to speak to your motion, and then I see Mr. Massey's hand is up and Monsieur Sabon Tremblay after. So, Mr. Sheehan, go ahead first, please, and speak to your motion.
Well, thank you very much, and I'll take Randy's friendly amendment, and I'll read that in as the friendly amendment. That pursuant to Standing Order 1082, that the committee study the ongoing trade challenges faced by Canadian workers and industry in the United States in light of the harmful. I had Buy American, but we're going to put in Build Back Better and EV provisions, and that the committee reports to its finding to the House. As far as it goes, and it's not in the actual notice of motion, but I would suggest that we need at least 6 meetings on this, probably more. But I would seek the committee's input on how many meetings that we do, at least 6, and if needed more, we can add them as we need to, as we draw up the witness list, et cetera, as per usual. And many of the people around this table I've worked with on similar motions, whether it was the 232 tariffs, the manufacturing study, the steel study that we've done on different studies. So I've read it into the record, and I welcome discussion on that. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Sheehan. And so you're amending your motion to indicate instead of Buy America to stipulate Build Back Better as suggested by Mr. Kobach.
Yeah, I accept that as a friendly. Yeah.
Okay, Mr. Kobach. Okay. All right. Mr. Barani.
So a couple of points. Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, Mr. Sheehan, for proposing this this study. I think most of us would agree. I haven't heard from everyone, but I think many of us would agree that this is a very pressing issue to study, so I laud you for having proposed it. I agree with you that the quantum of the meetings makes a lot of sense. What I would say in respect of what Mr. Hobak had raised earlier is that while I appreciate that we've just passed a routine motion talking about the subcommittee on procedure, I think this matter is quite timely right now, and I think for the purposes of getting started with committee business, I would propose that we vote on this particular motion now so that the committee can start its scheduling, preparing witnesses, etc., as opposed to waiting for a convening of the subcommittee on procedure. And I think the language could be a bit more elegant, so I'm going to take a stab because I am a lawyer, Madam Speaker, so this is what lawyers do. But what I would say is that it should read the ongoing trade challenges faced by Canadian workers and industry as regards the United States Build Back Better legislation, comma, Buy America policy, comma, and EV tax credit provisions, and that the committee reports its finding to the House. I think that would encompass everything that Mr. Hobak mentioned and just be a bit tighter in terms of the grammar. Thanks.
Sorry, I had to go to Mr. Massey next, then Ms. Simone Tremblay, and then we'll go to Mr. Hobak.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and I agree with all of that. I would also add a component to and the committee's study and report on Canadian EV incentives. We have our current incentive program. I've written the minister on this that actually is going to the United States. There's about 8 vehicles that they have as well, too, and I think that would also strengthen the case for the minister and also for information going out to the public that balances what's taking place between both the countries.
Mr. Simone Tremblay.
Well, I'm going to change subject a little bit, but first of all, I do agree with this motion. I agree with the study, rather, but I have a question. How are we going to go about this? I also had a proposal for a study. Should we propose our studies right now? How are we going to proceed, Madam Chair?
Got direction from the committee if they wanted to discuss committee business. We started with Mr. Sheehan's motion for discussion. Once we have settled Mr. Sheehan's motion when the committee has given direction, then you can introduce any other subjects or thoughts. I mean, it's a general committee business opportunity to talk about the kind of things you would like to see the committee deal with, right?
Donc la priorisation.
But how are you going to prioritize things? The priority doesn't come from the first motion that's being adopted, does it?
And that was sent to the clerk that we are discussing now as to what we will do with it and what direction. Once we have disposed of that in whichever way that we choose to do it, then we will go on to whatever items the committee members will introduce. So we'll get back to you, Mr. Simon Tremblay, once we've completed the discussion on this. Mr. Hobak.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. You know, I'm just trying to think of process and procedures in this. And again, I don't think anybody has a problem with the study. It's just, is this their first study we do or second study with my colleague from the block is trying to make? That's why we have a subcommittee, though. I don't think we can short step that subcommittee at this point in time. I think what would be good use of our time is, I know what Terry has proposed and how you've amended it. It'd be nice to have them bring forward one item to the subcommittee instead of amending it on the fly. Because there's been no talk about traveling to the U.S. There's been no talk about having meetings in the U.S. I would think that would be part of the committee travel that we should be considering. So again, I think it just needs to be fleshed out a little bit more. And then, you know, today they announced negotiations on the UK deal. So we've got ISION, we've got UK, so we've got other things coming in. We still have softwood lumber sitting in the background that looks like needs some work. So there's lots of things that have priority. And while the Liberals view EV as a huge priority, and I agree with them. There's other sectors that are saying we're our priority too, and where have you been? So, I think that's where it has to come back to the subcommittee, and then we can figure out what to propose for a calendar to the committee of a whole. Otherwise, we will go around this table 6 times with 10 different ideas on what we should do first. So I think that's the power of the subcommittee. Let's try to get it done in a calendar in a subcommittee, and then bring it back. And if you want to even do it quickly this week, have a subcommittee meeting and do that, I'd be more than happy to accommodate for sure.
Okay. Well, Mr. Raya.
Thank you, Madam Chair. 2 things. The amended words from Mr. Virani, I would like to suggest that before the word legislation, we should include proposed legislation or the legislation currently under consideration.
I'm sorry, Chandra. This is the problem I see, Chair. We're going to start debating one debate, and you've got other people in other areas talking about different things. You can't. It's just not going to function properly if we do that.
Have to go to the subcommittee.
Yeah, I believe it does. And if you want to meet tomorrow morning at 8 o'clock on the subcommittee.
How about today?
Yeah, I'd be glad with that.
right now, and you guys stay.
Yeah, we'll let you guys all leave.
To be fair to everybody here, like I'm sure the Bloc and NDP have some ideas they'd like for studies. Let's get them all in the basket. And if we need a day or two to get them to the clerk, and then you've got everything to look at, then we can sit down and figure that out.
Okay.
And if you want, I have no problem having that done relatively quickly.
I agree, Randy. Once you get on.
Madam Chair.
I'm sorry, I had the second point. I agree with Mr. Mass's suggestion on including the Canadian policies that can be considered, because the Prime Minister has already said that Canada is willing to align its EV incentives with that of the U.S.
Madam Chair, I have my hand up too, just whenever.
Mr. Sheehan?
Well, thank you very much. And, this is proposed legislation that's before, the Americans right now. And that's why I wanted this motion dealt with today. It sends a clear message, about our concern, at our first meeting, that this ought to be a priority. We know this is going to affect potentially Canadian workers, Canadian businesses. And so I really think that we should pass my motion with the amendments that Arif had said about, including both the Build Back Better, the Buy American, and the EV, and working out, as we've done it before, as the committee has undertaken studies in the past. Randy will recall that we have, as we've studied things, decided to take a trip to various places, including to Washington, to discuss our concern about the 232 tariffs. We were very successful in that Team Canada effort. But I think it behooves us to work expeditiously right now, because it's certainly going to send that signal to our Canadian workers, as well as the American legislatures, that we're very concerned about it. And I think that we should do it right now at 4:18 today, and not waste a second.
Okay, thank you. I have Mr. Hoback and then Mr. Virani.
And Mr. Sheehan, I'm not trying to delay it at all. In fact, if this committee wants to come back sitting here between Christmas and New Year's and all through January to do this, I would think the Conservatives would be in line with doing that and be happy to do that, because we recognize the importance of it. But to throw it in front of the committee today the way it's been thrown out, and then seeing the amendments that have been done to it and still have no consideration for other members of the committees and their priorities, is just wrong. And I think we need to flesh that out. And if you want to do it tonight or tomorrow morning, I'm more than happy to do it as quickly. But you need to give time for all the members of the committee to get that in here, if we're going to start deciding which studies we're going to do. And if we want to start sitting next week, well, then let's start sitting next week. We are members of Parliament, and this is a big issue, and it's been mishandled from day one. So if we can come in as a committee and fix it, I think that's a good thing. And I think the Conservatives would be more than happy to do that.
And just on that note, Madam Chair, to listening to Randy and the other people, I think that I think we can solve both these issues today by just passing this notice of motion, bringing it to the Planning Committee to prioritize on a calendar, along with other things that subcommittee may want to do, but passing the motion and then sending it to the subcommittee to be placed on a calendar with whatever else that subcommittee decides ought to be studied first, second, or third, I would be in agreement with. So that I think is a way that we can satisfy everyone and everyone's concerns. Thank you.
Mr. Sheehan.
Do you mind getting Mr. Franny to repeat?
Meeting. Yes, Chris?
Madam Chair, is it possible to suspend for just 45
I was thinking
seconds
I would
or
do
a
the
minute?
same thing
perhaps?
since we have,
Thank you, Madam
5
Chair.
minutes can solve a lot of problems.
Thank you, Madam
Even
Chair.
without coffee. Okay, thanks for suggesting that, Chris. dangerous, my hands. Okay, Mr. Barani.
Okay, thank you very much, Madam Chair. So, Madam Chair, there has been discussions among the parties, and I believe if you seek it, you'll probably find some support for passing a motion that relates to a study, and then filling out the contours of the study and the details of that study that can be done at a later date by the Subcommittee on Procedures. So I'm going to turn with your permission, Madam Chair, perhaps ask Mr. Hoback to suggest what that proposed language would be, and that would maybe be a friendly amendment to Mr. Sheehan's original motion.
Okay, Mr. Hoback.
So Terry, hopefully you're listening. Basically, we're going to try to keep it fairly simple. That we're actually the committee entertain a study on Build Back Better and the impacts it'll have on the electric vehicle industry here in Canada and manufacturing, and that study be reported back to the House when it's completed. And we won't put any deadlines in it as far as number of meetings, timelines, witnesses, or travel at this point in time. We can decide that as a committee as we get into the study. But we will do what Mr. Sheehan wants, and that's send a message to the U.S. that this committee has unanimous consent to. It's a big enough issue that we want to study it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay, everybody's good with that? All those in favor of Mr. Sheehan's motion as amended? Well, you know, you're going to be a great group of people. We'll get a lot of stuff done. We can just keep on working with each other. Yeah, Mr. Savon Tremblay.
I would like to add that it would be great. It would be great that when we come back, we have a study at hand and that everything is in place when we come back from the holidays to start the study.
Okay, Madam Clerk, would you come over here for a minute, please?
Je disais quand même, c'était un appel, une invitation.
This is meant as an invitation to everybody. Can you hear me? We should agree on that so that we have a topic for a study when we come back in January. We should come back not with a subcommittee, but with a topic for a study, something that we have decided in advance when we come back in January.
So any additional suggestions from any of the committee members of work that you might like to start should be sent over to the clerk, and we will, the first opportunity that we will have a meeting of the subcommittee. Okay.
Écoutez, moi aussi, je souhaite.
I would like to table a motion as well. Is this the right moment?
J'ai des copies.
I have paper copies, so please distribute them. Please distribute them.
Voulez-vous que je la lise ou que chacun...
Do you want me to read it?
Ben, écoutez, tout le monde aura le libellé, alors...
Everybody has the language here. I think that we should study the softwood lumber issue. So here is the motion that I would like to see adopted today.
Daniela?
Again, I have no issue with this. It's just the process that what are we going to use for new studies coming forward and how we do that. That's the only concern I have. And again, I have no issue with this study. I think it's a great study.
So technically, it would be referred to the subcommittee.
Yeah.
Right.
Do you want to, Chair, have each party put forward 3 or 4 ideas each or motions for us to consider in subcommittee before January? Just asking the question.
Well, I think it would help to have an idea of where the different members have coming from and what their thoughts and suggestions are. And then it's going to be up to the subcommittee to evaluate which ones prioritize which study we're going to do. We're going to start with Mr. Sheehan's. Maybe Mr. Simon Tremblay will be the second and somebody else will be the third. And that'll come forward with the recommendation. So sooner we know where the ideas are. But as in politics, there's always new things that hit on the horizon very quickly that then get added on to overall. Mr. Raya, did you have your hand up?
Yeah, I agree with what Mr. Hobak said, that all parties can pull in their 3-4 ideas, and the subcommittee can evaluate it and bring the short list back to the company, which we can discuss in detail.
Yes, okay. Mr. Massey?
Just to confirm, yeah, Mr. Hobak's right. I mean, we're kind of, I get and this is what the kind of the compromise was with related to Mr. Sheehan's motion was then let's now get everything else to the subcommittee and go from there. I think that's kind of where we're at. This is a good idea. I think that's clear on that. But there's also I'm want to propose a little something more broad because there's so many trade issues with the United States now too. So we went after just one little as a compromise, and maybe perhaps we could go to the subcommittee for the rest of the stuff.
Okay. All right. So with Mr. Simon Tremblay's motion is the direction of the committee to refer it to the subcommittee.
Yes, Madam Chair, I would agree with what's been proposed by Mr. Massey and Mr. Ari and Mr. Hobak, that it would be deferred to the subcommittee.
Right. Any other additional motions would be that anybody wants to move today, they would all be referred to the subcommittee for discussion whenever we're able to arrange for that to happen. For now, we've got Mr. Sheehan's motion adopted and moving forward for as soon as we come back. And the first opportunity that we can have a meeting of the subcommittee, that will happen. All right? Everybody's okay with that? So any ideas or thoughts you might have, please refer them directly to the subcommittee. Should be all right. That's fine? Yeah. Mr. Simon Tremblay?
Mais comment se fait-il?
But how come are we going to be sending the motions to the subcommittee? And how come has the other motion, the first motion, been adopted? Why was the first motion adopted, and why can't we adopt the other motions as we adopted the first motion? And we would still stay flexible as for dates.
So you've introduced your motion, and you're asking that we vote on that motion today, correct? Yes.
Ben moi, je souhaiterais si...
Yes, because this is what happened with the previous motion, so I think we should do this for my motion as well.
Of course, is calculated differently and examined differently, right? You've moved your motion. It's been introduced. He's moved his motion, and he's asking for a vote on that motion. Madam Clerk, is all that in order for Mr. Simon Tremblay's motion to vote on it? We're in committee business, so you didn't have to give advance notice for it either. Correct? I'm just making sure procedures is being followed here.
Point of order?
Mr. Hobak.
You know, we all talked and we all agreed that we would just deal with the one motion today and the rest would all go to subcommittee. That was agreed upon. So now to have this come forward now kind of breaks what we originally agreed on because, you know, like I have no problem with this. It's just not to deal with it today. Let's deal with it in the subcommittee.
Exactly.
Cependant, tout à l'heure dans la...
But a little bit earlier, we talked about the first motion. There was no priority that was given. We said that the first motion had a subject that interested us. But now, if I've understood, the first motion will be the first subject that will be prioritized when we come back. Maybe I didn't understand what was happening or what I had adopted. I might need a bit more explanations about this.
Committee, given the urgency of this particular issue with the EV issue and the Canada-US, that the committee would adopt this because of the urgency, and any other motions that were introduced would be referred to the subcommittee for further discussion and prioritization at the first meeting of the subcommittee. That was my understanding of everything.
Mais il était quand même clair.
But when we were talking earlier, I understood that we were adopting the theme or the idea of the motion, but there was no precise formula. What I'm saying is that it didn't mean that it would be the first subject to be studied when we came back. That's not what was said. There was no calendar that was established about the first motion.
So my impression, I mean, we had a little, during the brief adjournment, Madam Chair, obviously Mr. Hoback, myself, Mr. Savard-Tremblay, and Mr. Massey had a discussion, and my understanding and my takeaway from that, and I invite others to speak up, is that we would proceed with passing a single motion, which is the motion we've passed, proposed by Mr. Sheehan and amended by Mr. Hoback, because of the pressing importance of the electric vehicle credits being proposed in the Build Back Better bill by the United States Congress as it's currently formulated, and that future matters would be tabled for the Subcommittee on Procedure to outline. I think that's the proper procedure to follow in this case. I think with respect to what Mr. Savard-Tremblay has proposed, he's hearing from other members around the committee that there's a lot of interest in that type of study because it is also an important issue, but the most pressing issue at this point in time is the EV credit one. So I would propose we proceed on that basis, that the Bloc, the NDP, the Conservative Party and the Liberal Party and the members therein propose other ideas as well that can be provided to the subcommittee, and if Mr. Savard-Tremblay wants to have that looked at sooner rather than later, then we can have that meeting of the Subcommittee on Procedure as early as possible, including this week, is what I would propose. But not to have a vote on that right now, because that was not what was agreed to by the parties. Thank you, Ms.
Est-il possible de...
Would it be possible to see what was adopted earlier, word for word?
Already been dealt with. The committee already made a decision on what we were going to do.
Oui, mais je souhaite qu'on...
Very well, but I just want to confirm the decision because we didn't understand it in the same manner. We didn't all understand the same thing. I would like to hear the verbatim of what was adopted.
Back into the record what Mr. Hoback suggested for the text of the motion on electric vehicles. Est-ce que j'ai bien compris? Vous voulez savoir qu'est-ce...
Have I understood you correctly? Do you want to know what we voted on for electric vehicles? We did not understand the motion in the same manner. I would like the motion to be read again, word for word.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. Again, with what explained to me by my colleagues from the NDP and the Liberal Party, that there is an urgency, and I agree with them, that we actually send a message to Washington. And I said if we're going to do that, then we should just keep it as vague as possible, but still get that message and give the committee in the future the flexibility to shape that study as it sees fit. But we only do that one today. And the reason we only did that one today is I want the subcommittee to be struck and actually deal with all the motions in committees. Like this one here, I have no issue with it. But if you force it today and we vote no, well, then how do we deal with it? So I'd prefer if you table it and let it go to the subcommittee first, and I promise you at the subcommittee it will probably be one of our top priorities for studies going forward. So I think we can get you where you want to go, it's just the process is maybe a little different than what you expected.
I'd hate to see this motion fail today just because it didn't go to subcommittee where, kind of, that's, so I agree. I mean, and I think there's some things I'd like to add to the motion, but my understanding is exactly where we're at, is we already passed a motion to give us some way to move, so we can move as a committee, and then get reorganized at subcommittee. And I see this as item number 1 to deal with. So I'd hate for us to vote no on something right now, then it be the priority at subcommittee. So it's, because the other one's already there. So it already is by de facto number 2. So that's where I'd see we go, if there's kind of support for all that today. No, I just say, if Mr. Savard-Tremblay, I mean, just it's our priority at subcommittee. The first, we already passed something already, so it is the priority. It's done. So this is by de facto number 2, no matter what. But it can be number 1 of the subcommittee for us to deal with if we just move it to where it goes, because I think there's more discussion and robust. And I think you're hearing a lot of good support for it. It's just process, really, at the end of the day.
Just a process. Just want to make sure Mr. Savard-Tremblay's got it.
Oui, ben ça va au niveau.
Very well. Regarding process, if we have to proceed in that manner, that's fine with me. But I was just wondering what had been adopted. The first motion was supposed to be very vague, so I had not understood that it would be studied, that it would be the first one to be studied. And if this is the case, I hadn't understood correctly. So this is what I wanted to know. I want to know what was adopted exactly.
If I could just chime in too as well,
Yes.
just I as the mover of the motion that was amended, we wanted to send a worker, a strong message to our workers here in Canada from all the parties that we have their back, especially under this situation, and a strong message to American legislatures. And that has just happened. We've passed that unanimously, from my understanding. And I agree with everyone that the softwood lumber dispute is extremely important, and I think Mr. Savard Tremblay has achieved that today by having each party say so. So when it goes to subcommittee and listening to the people who are going to be members of the subcommittee, that it's going to be prioritized at the very, very top has been underlined and highlighted here in public. So I think that has been accomplished as well. So that's my input at this time. Thank you.
One further comment from Mr. Raya.
Madam Chair, another point. Mr. Sheehan's motion was submitted to clerk in advance, and it was circulated and it was available to all of us. Mr. Savasamble's motion was placed here on the table. My colleague, Mr. Sheehan, who is not here, who is virtual, may not have received the copy of this motion even to look at this. So the process that was adopted...
Je voudrais quand même mentionner...
I would like to mention that this is not my problem. If you didn't know the rules, we did not have to send the motion before the election of the chair. We did not have to send this motion in advance.
All this is moved due to the thing that we have adopted, that going further after that first EV study, anything else will go to the subcommittee first, and that way it will be discussed.
Yes. So everybody understands, all right? So to Mr. Simon Tremblay's motions, any other motions, please, if you could prepare them and get them off to the clerk so that the subcommittee can have a meeting as quickly as possible and start to move forward on our future work that the committee would like to do. Mr. Hoback?
If we park that issue, then I would like to get to know my members, the Liberal members of the committee, if they could just introduce themselves and go around the table so we kind of know where you're from, who you are, and because this committee is quite a bit different than it was before. So if it's now or a little later.
Great idea, Mr. Hoback. Let's start on...
Let's start with you. My name's Chris Lewis, and I'm Randy Hoback. I come out of Prince Albert, Saskatchewan. I've been on the Trade Committee and chaired the Trade Committee in the past, and I love this committee. It's a great committee. So I look forward to working with each and every one of you.
I'm Chris Lewis, Essex, down by Windsor, neighbors to my dear friend, Mr. Massey. And I'm really excited for this first study. Obviously, we are kind of automotive capital of Canada, so I'm looking forward to that. I'm happy to be back in this committee and seeing many familiar faces, and I'm also happy to see some new faces, so looking forward to it. Thanks.
Richard Martel from Chicoutimi-Le Fjord. I've already sat on the Defense Committee, and I'm very motivated to be sitting at this committee. In my region, we have aluminium and we also have softwood lumber.
Jeremy Patzer from Cypress Hills Grasslands, the southwest corner of Saskatchewan. Large agriculture and energy riding. Yeah, looking forward to it. This will be a good one.
Simon-Pierre Savard Tremblay from Saint-Hyacinthe-Bagotte. I'm very pleased to work with all of you. I'm looking forward to it.
MP for Windsor West. So about 40% of Canada's trade goes through my riding to the United States. I've been on this committee before. I'm also on Indu. Excited to be here because there's lots of crossover and some really good work we can do. So thank you very much, Madam Chair.
Yes, Andrew Dillon, member from Dorval, Lachine, LaSalle. Very happy to be here. I'm glad we're all here in person, actually, pretty much. And yeah, it's good to be off of Zoom. And I look forward to working with all of you.
So I'm Wilson Miao. My riding is Richmond Center. It's my first newly elected member here, and really my first committee out of the other one in veteran. I really do look forward to work with every one of you, and since my riding also have a big channel with international trade, that really just interests me a lot. So really look forward. Thank you.
I'm Chandra Alia, member of Parliament from Nepean in Ottawa. I was a member of this committee since last Parliament.
So I'm Arif Irani. I'm the Member of Parliament for Parkdale High Park. This is my third term and not my first committee meeting. Welcome, Wilson. Awesome. Great to have you. And I'm very much looking forward to working with all of you. Some of you guys I've served on committees with before. Some of you I've known your predecessors. I had some work with David Anderson a couple of parliaments ago. And for Mr. Hoback's edification, I will note that I actually once ran a carnival in Prince Albert in 1993 with Conklin shows. There you go. Learned a lot about everything in Prince Albert. But looking forward to working with all of you. Merci beaucoup.
Wow, that's wonderful. Well, listen, it's my interest always for everybody to enjoy the experience of being on committee. We'll have some fun. I don't know about the lobster, but I'll work on it. But you know, we all care about the same issues, and that's advancing our country as the thing most important to all of us, and that we work together in a joint way, and the same way that we solve some problems today. Communication amongst all of us is the most important thing. So I want to thank you all for your...
And a point of order, actually, to Madam Chair, people don't know, I'm number 10 overall in seniority. You are actually number 5, I believe, in seniority in the House of Commons. So you are actually one of the more experienced members, and you aren't going to say it. So that's why I'm introducing with a point of order, which I'm not going to get ruled out of order.
I for sure wouldn't have said anything about it at all. Terry's got his... Where is he? Oh, there he is. Oh, Terry, I'm sorry. I'm not used to the screen business here.
I've already spoke a lot today, so I'm Terry Sheehan from the Sioux, Steel Town, and on the border.
You got to hold up your name tag.
States. And for Mr. Massey, home of the Sioux Greyhounds, the best team in the Canadian Hockey League.
Just hit the delete button there.
Delete. Yeah, they don't give me any controls here. I'd like to have that for a few things. Anyway, okay. I see Mr. Savard Tremblay has his hand up.
Oui, excusez-moi, je vais...
I'm sorry, I have something serious to say. The minimum would be that we agree on something to make sure that there is a subcommittee meeting soon. I had 4 proposals, so I had targeted one that is urgent. We used some arguments, some points for EVs, and we could use the same arguments for the softwood lumber, whether we're talking about workers or the urgency to send a message to Washington. I asked 3 times that the wording be read to me, and this wasn't done, so this is extremely disappointing to me. So I want to make sure that a subcommittee meeting will happen soon, please.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Savartran. I'm sorry that somehow we have to make sure that Mr. Savard-Tremblay knows exactly what that motion was after possibly during the meeting. Mr. Varani, if you would ensure that Mr. Savard-Tremblay and his staff know exactly what the motion was, so there's no misunderstandings. And that we move forward. So I'm ready to have a subcommittee in 10 minutes. If the rest of the members of the subcommittee would be ready, I'm ready. So I will speak with the members and the clerk and see how soon we can sit down and go over some of the suggestions that we have and go forward. Mr. Raya, and then I think we can adjourn.
I appreciate that you are eager to convene the meeting of the subcommittee. However, we need some time to submit some ideas. Otherwise, the subcommittee will be meeting just with one idea. That will not be fair.
Of course not. There's no sense to have a meeting unless we've got a few motions from the members. Once we have those motions in, and they're in both official languages, we can then call a meeting.
Vis-a-vis the concern that's outlined by Mrs. Savard-Tremblay and what you just mentioned to me, perhaps it would just be beneficial if the clerk just read back what Mr. Hoback suggested 30 minutes ago so that it's clear for Mr. Savard-Tremblay.
Written down, Mr. Virani, so we would need you to read it, and again.
Well, I will do it to the best of my recollection. Mr. Hoback is the one, so.
Mr. Lewis has got his hand up there.
Donc finalement, il n'y a personne ici qui se rappelle.
So nobody remembers what was voted on, what we voted on.
Clerk had not taken down the notes, but the analysts and the clerks will have the exact wording that was referred to earlier. We just need to get it.
So my recollection of what Mr. Hoback said was to conduct a study on the Build Back Better bill and the impact it will have on the electric vehicle industry and manufacturing here in Canada and report back to the House.
All right.
So, and with all due respect, Madam Chair, I shouldn't be the only one who's writing down these things when they're happening in real time.
Agreed. But
Right.
today.
Mais je comprends.
I understand.
Have to have a little bit of extra patience with each other. I think Mr. Lewis was.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So I just, in the interest of time and the interest of simplicity, perhaps the clerk can go back or somebody can go back through the video, capture that video clip, put it into both official languages, and disperse it around the table, not right now, at a later date when they get a chance, so that my colleague can see it for himself in both official languages. I don't think it's something that needs to be
Yes, I agree.
chatted about right now.
Okay.
Non, mais
But I think that there is nothing in the wording that said that it would be the topic when we come back in January. It should not be the first topic.
This was an urgent issue for the country at the moment. It's the issue that's hottest that needs immediate discussion by all of us. So that was the reason, and the motion was adopted. So
est-ce que c'est écrit dedans que ce
Was it said that it would be the first topic for a study?
immediately, if I remember. Yes, because it's an urgent issue, and the committee all understand that we adopted that motion with the intent to immediately move forward on Mr. Sheehan's motion.
It was assumed that.
It was, everyone assumed the same thing, so I'm sorry, Mr. Tremblay, that there was some confusion for yourself, but is there any other discussion? All right, I'll move adjournment. If I have the permission of the committee, we move adjournment. Thank you all very much. Please get your thoughts and ideas together, and we'll have a meeting of the subcommittee when practical.